goal setting. So I want to start out with a question. What percentage of people do you think actually set goals?
Percentage. Yeah, 10%.
Okay,
5.
okay. You said small.
Small.
Okay, you ladies are correct. Only, I would say maybe 22% of people set goals. So that's 84% of people do not set any goals or haven't set any goals throughout their life. That's kind of shocking to me.
Wow.
So when we think about that, I wanted to talk about why goal setting is important. And let's start by defining a goal. A goal is an object or aim of an action, for example, to attain a specific standard of proficiency, usually with a specific time limit. According to Wikipedia, more general, it's a desired result that a person or system envisions, plans, and commits to achieve. When you go on to study goal setting a little more in depth, they have something called goal setting theory. It's based on the premise that conscious goals affect action and that conscious human behavior is purposeful and regulated by an individual's goal. Simply put, we must divide what is beneficial to our own welfare and set goals accordingly. So when we think about those definitions of goals, those are pretty much what we heard, growing up, how, it's important, why it's important to set goals. For me, as somebody who coaches, teaches, and always have been so goal oriented, as a young kid, I believe that if I didn't set a goal, I didn't have no path to follow, and then it was no plan. I used to even tell my mom I couldn't have friends who don't have goals, because that means they're not trying to go anywhere. Like, I was really that person. Like, if we were friends, I would say, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? Because I felt like we needed to help each other. Even now, I'm still like that with some of my friends. It's like, you're always like that. Sorry, it's one of the things that has helped me, what I realized, because it helped me stay focused, but also it gave me boundaries. It gave me a way to, hold myself accountable, but also feel good when I accomplish things. So tell me why you would say goal setting would be important, or how has goal setting impacted any of your lives?
I say for positive and negative. Sometimes you can set goals that are too high and then you fail.
Yeah.
And you don't want to set any more goals. I went through a period like that. So I think you've got to have achievable goals. And for me, not being a very detailed person, if I set too many goals, it's too much for me. So every year I try to do just, a handful of goals, 1, 2, 3, 5 at the most. And that way I think it's achievable. But I don't get overextended in that, and I think too, to be willing to adjust it along the way.
Yeah.
You can increase it or slack off a bit if it's too hard to achieve.
Yeah.
I love what you mentioned, Sharon, about being realistic in the way you set goals and, understanding how it works for you. For some people, you might need a goal every quarter. Some people can map out a whole year, 5 years, but I think that is very important when setting your goals. They call it the SMART goal technique. A part of that is the time frame. Giving yourself a realistic time and accomplish that thing will help you be able to set that goal more efficiently, but also make you more effective in accomplishing it. What about you, Naomi?
Sometimes I have struggles with making goals because, like she said, there have been times where I don't make the goal. So that can be tough. But I think it's really important, especially when we have children to be talking to our children about making these goals, but not just talking to them and following up with it. And I think, just as human nature, we procrastinate a lot. So I know I do. I put things off to a lot of times the last minute, and that's not really setting those goals. So, man, when you were talking, Shennette, I thought maybe you should just come over to my house and talk to my kids, my son and I both about it, and help us to make those goals. I know about SMART goals. I know how to set them, but then do I know how to carry them out? that's where I really struggle, is keeping up with it.
That's good. Actually, a part of the theory that I was talking about, he has a quote. He says, every person's life depends on the process of choosing goals to pursue. If you remain passive, you are not going to thrive as a human being. And I think, like you guys were saying, sometimes when we set lofty goals, they can deter us, or we can feel like we failed. And since most people have a fear of failure, we don't want to, we want to stay away from doing that again. But I've learned that even if I set a goal and I don't meet the mark, it gives me something to strive for. Or maybe God might shift it and say, okay, Shennette, you were being a little lofty. You wanted to accomplish this in 6 months, but it might take a year or two. He's able to help me change my perspective on the time and the direction I should go in that. But I think also what benefits us is setting those steps. Or one thing I was researching, it's no good to set a goal if you don't have steps, or you don't have ways to accomplish it.
Yeah.
Most people have New Year's resolution. And I think they've said only maybe 12% at the end of the year, when you research it, have accomplished those resolutions. Because what are the steps to losing weight? Oh, I have to now exercise every day. Or I can't just watch TV and it's gonna. So we have to put realistic steps in place to help us accomplish our goals. What about you, Shayna?
Goals help me a lot. They keep me accountable. I was thinking about as you was talking, the books that I came out with. I always put down a date that I want it to be done. And then if I don't make the date, then I just push the date back. But it keeps me accountable to doing it. So goals for me, I have long-term goals and short-term goals. And sometimes, like you guys, there's a couple books that I should have been put out and I haven't. And I just need sometimes when things seem a little difficult, you just kind of put it off. But if you put like the steps, and this is it's like stepping on my toes, because it's like, go ahead and do what you need to do. Yes.
I think I could probably tweak those goals to, after I've made the goal, and then maybe I see that something needs a little tweaking, I should just be able to go back and do that tweaking to make it more realistic or more, achievable.
Yeah.
And that's something that I don't really tend to go back and do.
Yeah, it's like Sharon said, flexibility. I think that's something that's not talked about enough in goals. We have to be flexible, but also adapt. Situations might change. I was reading this. TD Bank says that 6 out of 10 small businesses have some goals that they visualize. Only 6 out of 10. But also a big part of TD Banks and a lot of the major corporations, their success is being able to be flexible and adapt not only to their employees, but also their customers. So I think, as people, we have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And as women, we have to be willing to. You might have a goal and then you end up getting married and having a baby. So you have to shift. Those goals doesn't mean it has to stop you, but you have to shift the path that you're going. I found some keys on why people say goals is important, and we mentioned some of them. One major one is to avoid the pitfall of procrastination. Put that time down, give yourself a realistic measurement where you can reach that goal. And if not, you might have to push that, like you said, that book release back, but it doesn't mean you didn't accomplish your goal. That goals give us focus. It gives us a purpose, something to be driven by. And I think as we were talking on our last episode about self-care, the more you have purpose, the more you feel that you have a driving force, you're willing to drive in that direction.
Yeah.
Also, it helps us manage our priorities. So how many of you can talk about, or does anybody want to talk about a time where maybe your priorities were off and what that caused for you?
Well, for me, I think it's that personal time. For me, it's my quiet time in the morning. And everybody knows that I am not a happy person. It's just I need that to center myself. And when I've gone through those times where I've neglected that, we've all been. So that's a goal that needs to be a lifetime thing for me. For me personally, it's a life. So that's not an option,
Yeah.
that's not negotiable. Other goals, I can take or leave. And, I'll admit right now to everybody that I'm not the best at setting goals. I live more in the moment. In the moment, I'll have a great idea in front of me. I have a very good friend who helped me write a book, help me accountable, and then set deadlines. And, I wouldn't have that. So I think sometimes.
And you got another one too.
Yeah.
Another book.
I do have another.
Sure do.
And that's a big point. In just researching about goals, is goals help you stay accountable, but also when you share one, like you said, a friend or a mentor, or a spouse or a parent or a teacher or a coach, they can help you stay accountable. They can ask you, how close are you getting to publishing that book, Sharon? Or when are you going to take that trip, Shayna? They help you, remind you of those things that you set out to accomplish, and they kind of keep nudging you in the right direction. So maybe finding a mentor could be a good way in helping you accomplish those goals. Also, goals help us make clear decisions. If we're honest as women, when you have your priority, or when you have a budget, or you're not going to necessarily go in a grocery store and spend outside or too far outside their budget. Hopefully, unless it's a good deal, but it kind of keeps you in line and helps you make better decisions. So I know for me, goals have been a benefit in those little areas. Well, when I was younger, it's a lot of things I didn't do because I had to go to college to play basketball. I had to get a scholarship. I had goals in mind. So when my friends or people I know were doing other things, I was less likely to do them because I had these goals to focus on. I had something I wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
So,
And I wanted to say something too, with when you accomplish a goal, it helps you to accomplish bigger goals. Like one of my goals was to get out of debt. So I did that. I had specific, it took a while, but I got out of it. And then once I got out of it, I was able to set a goal like, okay, I don't have debt to focus on no more. So now what am I going to do with the excess? So then I put another goal to, well, now I want to do this because I don't have debt. So it's like when you achieve a goal, it helps you to go higher in other goals, but you gotta accomplish one to get to the others.
You start the momentum.
Yeah.
and also I got a statistic that they said 42% of people are more likely to succeed when they write down goals.
Yeah.
And even the Bible tells us if we write the vision, we make it plain. And it says walk in wisdom toward outsiders, making the best use of your time. So when you listen to all these nuggets, that's what I call them because kids like chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
So when I'm coaching, I can tell kids these are their nuggets. We can take it in, we can eat when we think about these things. Goals can help us really, align our life to hit that target. It's kind of like an arrow. If you have an arrow and you're just shooting it, or a gun, you're just shooting it at a target, you can hit a lot of stuff. But when you aim or you looking and you squeeze, you get down right, you can hit the target. And I think that's what we want to do with our lives when we're living in purpose. We want to align with God. We want to take those steps that's going to allow us to hit that target so we can have that influence and impact as chief women. So my last question, how do you think, or what is something you might not have accomplished without a goal? I know Sharon shared with us about a book. Do you guys have anything you feel that you may not have accomplished in your life if you wouldn't have put out a goal?
Probably me finishing nursing school. I had a goal with that, and I hit it. And I wouldn't, if I didn't have that goal, then I wouldn't have did it.
I think for me, when I make a decision that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Like, I don't back down from it. For example, just like going to university. Even though I dropped out my first 2 years there, I dropped out of college, I went back for my bachelor's degree. And that time I was very determined. I made sure that, I accomplished that. I set my mind to do it and I did it. you know? Whereas when I went back to try and get my master's degree, I wasn't really so set on that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's where is your heart in it? You gotta have a heart in it,
Yeah,
or you're not gonna accomplish it most of the time.
true.
I do agree. And as we're wrapping up, I want to thank you ladies on discussing goal setting with us. Make sure you go to Chief Women Arise and subscribe to our YouTube. And we'll look forward to hearing about how you've accomplished some of your goals.